Yeah, it's still a wonderful Tuesday morning in June, and we're in Germany. My name is Dennis Hofe, and if you want to know a little bit more about me, there's somewhere an About Me video. I'll put it also in the link description, in the video description. So today we are trying to demystify or start demystifying the word agile. I use the word customer first because in my eyes, customer is almost agile agnostic. The customer should and is in most also traditional organizations, at least for some departments, in the center of focus. Agile as such is really the big buzzwords, and people are hearing it all over the place. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, you can look the word up in a dictionary and it'll tell you something about being flexible or being fast or adapting. And of course, at the end of the day, yeah, in a wider sense, that all maps also to the, let's say, the scientific vocabulary of agile. But this is just in theory. I'll give you my interpretation of it, because even if you look it up, you will find things like the Agile Manifesto, or you will find other explanations. And then still the question is a little bit, what is it now really? I mean, how can I feel it? How can I touch it? And this is the problem. You can't. You can maybe feel it if you're working in an agile and in not agile organization, and you might feel the difference on how people interact and how projects are being run, if you have even any projects in an agile company. So I was once in a training with Ken Schwaber, and there was I think it was PSM1, so Professional Scrum Master, whatever. It's back in 2010-ish, and he said Agile is the ability for larger groups to react swiftly and jointly towards a change. I hope I can recall this rightly from 12 years back. And okay, let's say that this is agile. It is probably one aspect of it. What would you need in order to have a group of people reacting to a change jointly? I have a flea in here. She's also watching. Stay there. So constant interaction. So if you have 20,000 people in a company, they cannot all jointly, 20,000 of them, interact. Okay, so what does it mean for a large enterprise to be agile? It's probably, if we talk about large groups, we talk about 7 to 12 people. Maybe we talk about a team which is interacting constantly with each other. And that could be a bit more feasible, that 7 to 12 people talk on a daily basis. But how is that agile? Why do we put so much into this word? Why is it so big? Because agile actually is a value orientation. Yeah. So there comes the Agile Manifesto. I think it's the best explanation. And I'm giving a few examples. For my customer video, we had the example that you're going into a shop and you buy a fridge. There is very little in there which would say, let's negotiate about the contract details. I'm not accepting from Walmart or MediaMart or Saturn or however the big shop is called. I'm not negotiating their contractual terms as a customer who's buying a fridge. But also these big companies have realized that they have to treat their customers in a certain way, so that and be a bit flexible about certain rules in order to, let's say, keep them as a customer, have a good reputation, and be attractive in comparison to maybe other shops on the market. And so it happens that you could say that interaction and customer negotiation is more important than the contract you have written down, because you might bend the rules in there. And this is one important aspect. If someone says, this is in the contract, we're not going to change it, this won't happen, it's a good indication that this is not an agile behavior. Because if it's to the greater good of both, one gets reputation, maybe keeps a customer who's coming back, who's making advertisement to his family and friends about your shop, etc., and your offer, then it's a good thing for you and is a good thing for the customer. This is a bit more obvious. We don't need to be agile, but it is one important aspect within the range of things we are doing on an agile basis. The other very important thing is that the product is in your view. You don't think so much about administrative things and management things and budgets and whatever. You think about the product. And in the Agile Manifesto, it's called Working Software over Comprehensive Documentation. And the reason for that is, in my eyes, and this is particularly well working and well visible in large organizations. If you enter such an organization and someone tells you about a new project which is being initiated, first thing, project, why? But we have a big project there. The end result is a product. Let's assume this for a second. And the first bit and the first phase is initiation phase. You are the output of this initiation phase, which goes, let's say, for 3-4 months. It's a 2-year program. Is a big pile of documentation which precisely describes what is to be expected, which is asking every user what he wants to see, and etc., etc., and is being aligned with the management, and the budget is based on this documentation, further refined and calculated. And by the way, it needs to, of course, amount to the initial estimate roughly. But nevertheless, the end result of a 3-4 months period is a blueprint, is a kind of documentation. There, the focus is a lot about documentation and plan. And what is left, so we will know everything, the amount of pages, we will know what's in the pages. Maybe there are far too many pages to actually read them all. And lastly, the focus is on getting these pages right. The end result is a book. It is not some form of increment of already a working version or a prototype or a wireframe or whatever. No, it's nothing. It's basically documentation. And this is how you could feel that there is a non-agile approach being used, that people after 3 to 4 months of very, very intensively working together and very a lot of interaction with the customer ends up with no product, nothing. Just a plan, just a piece of documentation. And in an agile world, you would see that at the very beginning, people are doing the same. They're sitting together, they're trying to figure something out. But often this period is much shorter, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And very early on, the development team will be sitting together and start developing code, and will start to produce a first increment of the product. And of course, you have to transform this approach, whatever industry you're working in, a house, a car, a piece of software. All these things require a lot of brain power to make a meaningful increment, which a user can look at and work with a little bit at least, and gets a glimpse on whether the product you're going to evolve into over time, whether the first thing you've built is going into the right direction. So the product in an agile organization is the focus. There's a few more things you could feel if you enter such an organization. There will be a form of daily interaction. I didn't encounter yet an agile implementation where interaction between people isn't obvious and that it is high frequency. You will also observe that this interaction goes beyond planning the day or resolving problems and blockers on the way to achieve the day's goal. But you'll also observe that this team will huddle every now and then around a problem to try to solve it jointly. And eventually, they will also, on a very regular and high frequent basis, interact with the customer to get feedback or the user, and will also interact jointly within the group to improve their way of working. So if you see these things, that there's a group coming together on a regular basis and they're trying to figure out how to do their job better on a regular basis, having constant feedback loops implemented into their work with the customer, with the user, with someone who's able to provide feedback to their product. And if they're producing products incrementally, then you might be then you are in an agile driven organization. The other thing is, one guy said on Twitter, try to order a Post-it and measure the time from ordering until arrival. And that measures how agile the organization is. I don't agree at all. I have seen very efficient processes in a company, which is definitely not agile. Yeah, so just being efficient in a process doesn't mean you're agile. If you're proposing a change to such a process, and if there is an open ear towards your proposal and the way the whole interaction then works on this process improvement you have in mind, that could give you an indication whether you're working in an agile company. In Toyota, they're doing this Kaizen thing where, let's say, in simple words, people are making suggestions to improve the manufacturing of cars. And I think I read something about 10 to 15,000 ideas per year are being put forward. Not, of course, everything is being followed up, but the sheer amount of ideas indicates that there is a form of mindset to bring ideas forward. I have seen enterprises where putting ideas forward is a rare occasion because you know that first of all, you're not being listened to. If you're being listened to, you're being deflected. If you're not deflected and you're listened to, your idea is still not being put into reality. And at some point you're giving up on these things. I must say my experience on this is quite limited. It's just my life experience, but nevertheless, this is often the case. And to get into a state where even in a large organization, you're trusting that your idea is being acknowledged as a good idea and is potentially even followed up and implemented, I think this is a great thing. And I can see that a lot of companies I've been working with suffer a bit from this problem. And if you're seeing a company which doesn't, probably it is a bit more agile. In my very philosophical view, agile means that you don't know the answer to something, that you don't pretend that there is a structure and an end result which you can predict. You are assuming that everything is more or less evolutionary, and that comes for how people communicate, how people work together, how the end product looks like, and how this end result is produced. There is the assumption that a conservative or classical organization has, that you're able to predict and provide structure for all these things up front. And of course, in my eyes, Scrum is also providing a structure up front. But people like to say it's a framework in which you can sort of experiment. It gives a few structures in order to make some let's say, obvious things easy, but leave enough room to make less obvious stuff to be figured out by the team. And I think this is maybe good enough for an organization in particular, where you need to break away from, let's say, the given structures and evolve into new structures which allow you more freedom. But a truly agile organization doesn't need this. They would just figure out with the team jointly how they would work on this particular problem going forward. And this how you would work is a side product. In an agile coach world, this is the main thing. Yeah, I'm focusing 24/7 on how people work together, how to make change I see needed for the organization. But it is not the main product, it is a side product, but you can't not do it. If you're not looking at the way you're working and interacting, in particular in large organizations, you'll stay as inefficient as you are. And it is big holes to drill into an organization to get the liberty and freedom to be a bit more freer in how you choose to work. So let's summarize this a bit. What is Agile then? It is an evolutionary style of working, which doesn't predict structures, in particular how a team is doing their job. It is putting the product, the interaction of people, and flexibility into focus. It allows change. It is allowing for new ideas to be brought up. It is allowing for the product and for plans to change. And I would still recommend for you now, after you've heard all this, and I have tried not to use too many terms from there, but now to read agilemanifesto.org, where they have simplified this and put it into 4 Glaubenssätze, so into 4 terms and 4 sentences, what Agile is about. And this is what Agile is about. And it is something you will be able to observe if you join a company. So I hope that gave a little bit of an insight. If you have better ideas how to describe Agile, and I'm pretty sure I'll come up with more ideas tomorrow or later today, then I'll put it into part 2 of the video. But this is maybe giving you a start. Enjoy your day. If you're doing Agile, congratulations. And if you now feel your company should become more Agile and you would like to discuss ideas at some point, feel free to reach out to me, and we can talk. Bye.